About my teaching practicum is a little bit so for the last couples of meeting I haven't joined it because my shift was in the afternoon, so yeah, I didn't get to join the meeting. But it's also because I have some problem with the schedule. Like I have only one day off out of the week, so it means that I need to teach uh 5 day, yes, 5 day a week. That's a lot of class, and it's a mixed class. I need to teach grade 12, so many classes. And also after that we try to persuade our associate teacher, because I mean in the same school our groups, the other groups, they got like less teaching hour than ours, so we try to persuade him, and somehow yeah we got to change the schedule like 3 times. Yeah, 3 times until the final schedule one is out. And now yeah, it's a little bit easier, but still I have problem because that school they have the different hour, so usually we teach 1 hour for one session, but for that one it's only about 30 minutes or something, so it won't be the same as what my lesson plan did. And also the school NIE, they asked for the video, so I hope that it won't be a problem with them. I hope that they will understand that we have a issue with the time. Yeah, sorry, I need to take a phone a little bit.
Thank you. But can you edit it, just combines together from one class? Let's say today you have to teach 2 or 3, I don't know, maybe 3 lessons a week. Can you combine the video together? Sita, what is the instruction for video taking?
I think Sachita had an issue with her phone, didn't she? She said something.
Oh, okay. Odam, so can you talk about your teaching practicum then?
Oh, yes, teacher. For me, it's not really different from Chita teacher, but I just got less hour than her. We just got 8 hours for a week. Actually, our group, there are 4 members also teach, but we divide as a 2 grade, 2 for grade 11 and 2 for grade 12. So we divide it, and we do not go to observe it, teacher, because of COVID-19, so we need to separate it.
Ah. Yeah.
And I'm really hesitant with the video recording, teacher, because it's really hard for us to take the whole video, because we cannot follow our lesson plan as we plan before our teaching, teacher, because the time is much less different.
Oh yeah, so the lesson plan is on paper, and then reality is different.
Yeah, that's why it's a problem for us to take the video for the whole session.
Like I know that you have to learn things, how to teach and so on, but you are also part of this project. And what I would like to, ideally, what I would like to see is you to think about what you are learning in this project and what's happening in schools, and how you can think of your experiences in school as a teacher as influenced by this project. At the end of the day, I trust that I'm teaching you English. So, but it's a very different way than what you are probably exposed to or used to. So even if you go to school and whatever you have to do, that's great, but you are still a thinking person, right? So what I would like you to do is to think for yourselves, or maybe comment here also on how you see the relationship between the teaching of English we are having here and how you are expected to teach English in schools. That's a good problem to think about.
Excuse me, Doctor. Do you want us to compare the school for our practicum and
For example, if you could answer the following questions. So here we are studying English, but we are engaged in what is called a project-based learning. Every assessment task has been a project to create a website, a project to create stories, a project to learn how to advertise your institution, how to talk about your institution, right? So you don't talk about your institution like, we have 300 students and we have 20 teachers, we study English and we are really good. Who wants to listen to stuff like that, right? So you were learning about, so we are taking project-based learning and we are looking at different types of texts, and every assessment task is a project. Now in schools, what do you observe? Do teachers do projects like create a website? What would you put on the website? Why would you want to put that on the website? How can we do these things for the website? Do they have in schools project-based learning? Do you teach through project-based learning? What do you think, Udam?
At my school, teacher, not really that way, because as our observing for the homeroom teacher, they just follow their lesson plan, and most of the thing they just follow the course book.
Crystal? What's a crystal?
No, I mean course book, teacher. They just follow every step in the course book. Yeah.
Course book. Okay. So why isn't the course book teaching through project-based learning? So what's the method that you are required to teach or to use? What's the method called? Course book. But is it like grammar, or is it vocabulary? Is it project? Is it what are the students learning?
I'm not sure what to call it, teacher, because in a lesson there are a lot of things that we need to cover.
So it's a top-down. You are determining what students need, what knowledge is. Students cannot identify what they don't know and what might be required. So project-based learning requires you to reflect on what you know and what you may need to learn more. So course-based, so textbook methodology. So are you just focusing on grammar and vocabulary?
Both, doctor, and we also have reading skill, like reading for G's or reading for detail in the text.
All right, so a lesson plan should be directly connecting with the national curriculum. Do you make clear links with the national curriculum of Cambodia?
No, not really focus with that, Doctor. We just follow what we were instructed by a lecturer from NIE, and we're supposed to do. Yes.
Right, so this is good, but what I want you to do, you are a thinking person, right? We all have a brain. So what I would like you to do is to do what you're required, do what's your teacher telling you, but somehow compare in your own mind when you are at school, when you teach, compare what we're doing here and compare with compare project-based learning with textbook-based learning, and just have some thoughts for yourself. Think for yourselves, what's the difference? Are they the same? And if they are not the same, why do people like me or other people use project-based learning? Why don't we follow a textbook? And I'm not saying at this very moment, maybe in another context I could comment more, but at this very moment, I'm not evaluating. I would like you to do some reflection, right? To compare your experiences here, what's required from you, and as opposed to school. Yeah, just for the fun of it. We have this thing here, so it's important to think so that then you can engage in discussions with me or whoever, and you can say things, you know, based on your own thinking. So when you are a student, you follow, but in 1 year, you will not be a student. In 1 year, people will think of you as a leader. So that thinking needs to begin now as you are following your teacher, right? So you follow your teacher, that's all right, but you need to begin thinking. And in 1 year or 2 years' time, people will ask you for your professional advice, not for the advice of an NIE teacher. Because as you start becoming a teacher and as you teach in school, people will want your personal view based on your professional experience, right? So it's very important. In Australia also, for the last 10 years, we are putting extreme pressure on teachers to think. And they have to learn to be leaders, not always do what they were taught at school when they were studying to become a teacher. That's just the basics, right? So what you're learning at NIE is the basics. And then when you are at school, it will be expected from you to push knowledge forward. Today, you and I have a computer. Today, you and I can take a shower. Today, doesn't matter whether you are rich and poor, you can cook your meal in the kitchen. None of us is living in a jungle eating monkeys, right? None of us has to yell. We can use the phone. So the reason for it is that someone didn't have a phone and was thinking, what can I do to stop screaming and instead use maybe something else? So the phone was invented, kitchen was invented, shower was invented, right? So we're not running filthy today. You and I can in the morning go and have a shower. And that only can happen when we have a thinking society. And in Cambodia and Southeast Asia, teachers are respected, not because you are a teacher, but because the role of a teacher requires modeling good behavior, modeling example, how to become a reflective society. And a reflective doesn't mean a follower. Only sheep follows, right? You're not sheep, you're a thinking person. So like in Australia, here also in this project, I am taking this opportunity. It's not many of us here today, but I'm taking this opportunity to share with you what we require from our teachers in Australia, so you can learn. So this little experience we're having in this project is not only about learning English better and literacy skills, but also to communicate about the job of a teacher, about the job of a teacher trainer, which is for me, I'm a teacher trainer, what's expected from teachers. So we're doing projects with a lot of teachers. I'm doing projects with teachers also, because in Australia, for the teacher to progress, to earn more money, they have to be engaged in reflective teaching, which means they have to make a connection with someone from a training institution, like NIE, like university, and now push knowledge forward. So you'd go to your teachers from NIE and say, well, I learned the basics, but now I want to push it forward. I want to learn more. I noticed this, I noticed that. I'm thinking about the project-based learning. I don't really know how to do it. Maybe you don't need to know how to do it, right? But you know, those reflections, can we try a project? Can we do something, right? And so on. So reflection, I want you to learn to be confident. You are not, once you finish school, once you finish with NIE, rather than to be like little person like this, you have to be a big person like that. I learned the basics. Now I'm learning to be a professional. That's the next step. So that's really lovely. I'm really grateful we had this discussion. Titia, would you like to share something about your reflections from your practice, from your practicum? Titia, would you like to add something, what you have seen and any of your reflections?
You mean the chair, right, Dr. Ania? The chair, are you with us?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah. So two of them have already talked about their teaching practicum. So can you say something about your?
I don't have anything to say, teacher.
Are you having a good time in school?
Not really.
Okay, so what don't you like?
Actually, it's just the time for teaching that it's like too little for one lesson. That's what I don't like.
Yeah, I think it's horrible, and it is not new. It's been like this in Cambodia for quite a while. I don't know why they do it. There's a policy in the Asian nations that everybody must speak English, but there's very little time in schools for teaching English. And yet you cannot progress internationally. You cannot progress on a bigger scale in Cambodia unless you speak English. Because in order to progress even nationally, you need to talk to international people. You need English. I don't understand why schools give so little time to English. That's just bad. You should be sending that. I will be sending that information to the ministry, but you also should be communicating with NIE should be communicating with ministry and commenting on it. That's right. You can't learn much in 1 hour or less per week. Is it 1 hour?
Yes, teacher, 1 hour per week for one class.
It's just nothing.
That's 1 hour and a half
Yes.
for one class in a week.
Don't know why they make choices like that. All right, my friends. So it's very few of us today. So what I might do today, I'm just going to share my screen, okay? Thank you so much for your comments about schools. I really appreciated it a lot. It confirms a lot also what I already have learned about the context of schools in Cambodia. We just have to press on. We just have to put pressure on the ministry over and over and over again. So the assignment 3 is a presentation skills task. So with the advertisement, what we were learning is how we can talk about our institutions, schools or NIE or whatever, to other people, right? Not how we can talk, but how we can talk to other people about our institution. Right, so remember, we've covered that before. I might mention it later, okay? So I would like to just simply ask a few questions. They're very simple. They don't look very simple, but they are. Can we summarize a little bit? What have we learned so far? Can any of you mention something that what we've learned so far? We've had 2 assessment tasks, but what knowledge, not skills, but like we learned to do, okay, what knowledge did we learn? What have we learned through those 2 assignments? What have we learned so far?
Teacher, I'm not sure if it's correct. So I might confuse between knowledge and skill. So I think that we have learned so far about the knowledge is how to implement the moral into a story, how to tell a story, yes, and also how to persuade people through an advertisement.
Right. So I think I'm just gonna so I think, does anyone else want to add something to it?
Nothing much different, teacher. We can focus on the first thing that I can say is how to develop a storytelling. Like we have some disturbance, we have a focus, we have something like moral, and another one is about our poster.
So if we were to theorize, right? So you're learning a little bit of abstract thinking with me, but that's good for you, right? So abstract thinking is not what the monkey can do. The monkey will just take cucumber and will eat it or will not eat it, but you will look at it and you'll think, oh my God, cucumber looks very similar to some other vegetable and some other vegetable. Maybe we will call it vegetables, right? So that's what a human being does. Whereas monkey doesn't see a class. What monkey does, oh, this is well, the monkey's an edible, not edible. But that's it. So it doesn't group very well. Grouping things is abstract thinking. So let's theorize. So if we learn how to tell a story, what did we learn? What exactly did we learn about text? What did we learn about text? What is text? So 10 points for anyone who can complete this sentence. What is a text? Text is I will help you think about it, but I'm first asking you just in case you get some ideas. So we were writing text. A story is a text, advertisement is a text, poster is a text, right? Because you communicate. So what is a text?
Can I try?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So the text is the collection of sentences that is meaningful and also relay the message that is in it.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. You relay a message to whom?
To the readers.
Well, sometimes you write a text, sometimes you speak a text.
Yes. So can I say audience?
Audience, yes. So in some way, we could say that the text is a conversation, right, between you and others. In English, the others, you would say, and your interlocutor, right? Because you're not speaking just to anyone. Interlocutor is the conversant, right? So like today, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to my neighbor. If my neighbor just walked in, they would die of boredom, right? So I'm not talking to my neighbor. So it's not just the other, it's a specific other, right? So the audience is not just anyone, it's the specific other. It's my interlocutor. And here, today, my interlocutor is you, right? You are my interlocutor. But if I spoke about the text to a child and I tried to relay a message to a child about what text is, I would do it differently, right? So that collection of sentences, what you said, differs on your depending on your interlocutor, right? You talk to your child differently, you talk to the neighbor differently, you talk to your professional group differently. So what we have learned from this is why do you talk at all? Why do we talk at all? So text is basically what we said, is a conversation with your interlocutor, right? Text is a conversation with your interlocutor. I like that. Now, but why are we talking at all? I mean, you know, I put this question on Facebook and someone said to me, oh, I want to exchange ideas. And I'm thinking, I'm not interested in your ideas. Why is anybody interested in your idea? Maybe nobody is. So here we have a problem. We all talk, but now we need to specify, why do we talk at all? Is it about exchanging ideas or something else? Why do you talk? Why am I talking to you? Or why do you talk? What? Okay, so we'll just leave the question here. Why do we talk at all? It's interesting, isn't it? this is a very simple reflection that we're making, that we're undergoing now. But I have to tell you, I like playing with you and reflecting with you, because these questions have been spoken about for hundreds of years by Western and Eastern philosophers. So these are not simple questions, but we know enough today that I think that we can have this little conversation and get it right. We got the first bit right. We know what the text is. It's a conversation between interlocutors, right? So we're happy. But why do we have a conversation at all?
To make some interaction.
But why do you want to have an interaction?
Maybe we want to share some information related to the reader.
Why do you want to
behavior.
share? Why, and why should I listen?
No idea. Yeah.
But that's good thinking, right? Why do we want to share? We don't want to share. I mean, you have a lot of thoughts in your mind that you're not sharing with me today. Maybe you had an argument with your wife and you're not sharing this with me. Maybe you had maybe you just got engaged and you're not telling me that. Right? So there's a lot of things you're not saying. In fact, a lot of philosophers are saying that the biggest part of our interactions is to know when to shut up. When not to speak is the most important skill, right? So that's what philosophers say. But basically, let me collect that and put this question here again. Why do we want to share?
Or maybe because we want people to listen to us.
But why?
Yeah,
Why
because we
should they
want.
listen to us?
Yeah.
Right. So these are theoretical questions, right? They are reflective questions. They force you to think theoretically now. Theoretically, which means you need to put together lots of facts and compare them and come up with something new, right? So that's a theoretical thinking. How can you make sense out of lots of facts? Yes, we do talk. Yes, we want to share. Yes, we want to interact. We are social, yes. But put them together, all of these reasons, and come up with a single purpose. That's hard. But we maybe we can do it. So why do we want to share? So there are many ways to answer these questions, but a simple way might be is because we want to affect the other person or change, right? We want to affect them. So you go home and you want your husband to be affected by how you feel about something. So you don't want to share. You want to affect your husband. Say, did you know? I want to change the way you feel now about my afternoon. And I want you to cry with me or laugh with me or something. I want to change the way you see reality, the reality of my afternoon. Look, it wasn't as good as you were thinking. I went to school and the student was angry with me and whatever. And your husband is saying, oh, I thought you would have had a great day. And he said it was horrible. So you wanted to affect. So we talk to affect. Well, that's very interesting. It's a very interesting conclusion. We talk, we engage in these conversations with our interlocutor, and we choose our interlocutors strategically, right? We choose our conversants, interlocutors or conversants strategically. You will not tell me you had a bad afternoon, but you will tell your husband, because you don't think it will have much of an effect on me or on your relationship with your husband and you, right? So on your relationship between you and me. So some things you don't tell me because I am not selected as a relevant interlocutor, because you don't really care how I feel about you, or not enough, right? Not enough, not in that area. But your husband, you want to affect them, right? So we talk to affect how other people see things, how other people see us, right? So we talk to affect. So assignment 3 is about public speaking. It's about making a presentation. So as you can see now, when we said that text is sentences, it's not quite sentences. Text is first selection of the interlocutor, the locutor. So first we select the audience, and then we decide on what we want to do to them, right? So if text is a conversation with a person or people we selected to affect them, right? So when we create a public conversation, public presentation, which is assignment 3, right? We need to select the audience, and then we need to think how we want to affect them, right? That's what a good text would look like. That's what a good text does. But especially when you have people in front of you. I mean, if you write bad text on your website, you're not losing face. It's all right. People look at it and go, whatever. But if you have 30 people in front of you and you stand up and you talk to them as if they were a wall, like nothing, they will not walk out, but some of them may fall asleep. And most of all, you will not reach your objective. So you need to know what your objective is, right? You need to know why the heck you want to talk in front of them. What you want, what, you know, and why, right? And why? So you can choose the right sentences, right? So when, I don't know who it was, but said that text is sentences, yes, but you need to choose the right ones. And the only way you can choose the right sentences is when you want to, when you know why you're talking to these people and how you intend to affect them. You may want to upset them. You did these things. This is the situation in the world, and you didn't consider this and this and this. You did something else. How could you do this? How could you do this to us? Right? That's to upset them, to shame a person. You may want to make them reflect. What is a text? How do you know that? Why do we talk to each other, right? So this is a conversation where my objective was to make you think. I wanted to affect you. I wanted you to look deep inside of you and assess for yourself how much you know. Can you talk about concepts like this? Right? And then in the third point, I wanted you to think, can you apply this knowledge into your assignment 3? Can you now, when you make presentation, think of the presentation as a conversation through which you want to affect other people, right? This is not just me talking. This is me talking to affect the people in front of me, right? So here's a little theoretical moment for today. Now, would you like to share some of your thoughts about it? It's a very important point. And I will show you some examples of texts and just today that I prepared to discuss it with you. It's a very important point, so that when you prepare your assessment task 3, you really are learning to talk publicly because you know what the public speech is about. Right? It's not about being irrelevant. If you want to be irrelevant, don't talk. Remember that sometimes you need to know when not to talk. So if you want to be irrelevant, maybe the best strategy is not to talk. All right, before I move to next slide, which I prepared for today for us, would you like to have a little conversation about it? I'll just give you 5 minutes to chat a bit.
So everyone, I think you know the assignment 3 is coming now, and you know what to do. Right? You need to present what you have learned from project to the teacher training or teacher training. And the thing is that
we can make presentation on any subject. Doesn't have to be about our course. It could be about anything. You can talk about the war in Vietnam. You can talk about the war in Cambodia. You can talk about gardening. Presentation, basically presentation on whatever subject. Doesn't have to be about us.
But the thing is that we have already decided that we choose 2 groups, the best group to the presentation to the all the training in the exhibition date. And I think that they know already.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for explaining. Yes.
Okay, so everyone, you know how to do the presentation, right?
Oh no, we're gonna learn it next week. We're gonna learn next week how to do a presentation. So it's not very simple. I think I just want to stick first with that little theoretical slide. If anyone has any comments or anything to add, any reflections, any feelings, if you have, I want to discuss this particular slide. Does anyone want to add anything or share something before we move to the next slide? Teacher, do you want to? Yeah, Odom, yeah?
Yeah, I have a little bit, teacher.
Yeah.
Before we always think that doing presentation is not really difficult for us, because if we know the topic and we can talk it in English, it's much better. But if we talk about the question, why do you talk at all, it's much really difficult for us. what to talk and when to talk and who to talk to.
So a good presentation should score well or do well on those points. Your presentation will need to reflect that you were able to cover those points in your presentation. I'll show you some examples now. I'll show you some examples. So that was a good point, Odom. My next slide is about it. Anyone else wants to add something?
No, I don't have.
Ditya?
I don't too, teacher. I don't either.
All right, so let's look at this text. I didn't write it. It's actually from school in Australia. Imagine you have a presentation and someone is saying these things. When I read it to you, I want you to think whether it's a good text, okay? I want you to think whether it is a good text. Now, we've done a lot of work so far on what makes a good text. I understand that a lot of this is very new for you. That's okay. That's why we are having this practice now. So I will read the text to you and I want you to think whether it is a good text. Whales are sea mammals and are warm-blooded. They belong to the Cetacea order, or Cetacea, I don't know. And they can be divided into two groups, the toothed and the baleen whales. They are grouped together according to whether they have teeth or not. Whales have smooth skin. All whales have a layer of fat called blubber. It is used to keep them warm when they dive deep. Their bodies are streamlined. This means they are long and slim, enabling them to move through water. They have a few bristly hairs on their snouts. A whale's tail is called a fluke. It helps it to move forward in the water. Whales also have two flippers to help them steer left and right and to balance. Their eyes are on the sides of their heads. Because of this, they don't rely on their eyesight for swimming. Instead, they rely on radar or sound waves. The whale's nose is called a blowhole and is situated on the top of its head. So, was it a good text? Okay, my friends, what criteria would you use to judge whether it's a good text?
I think maybe it is about the flow of the text, whether it's the same topic or not.
Okay, did I teach about the flow throughout the last months? You've been with me?
Nope.
Right, so I didn't teach about the flow. So why are we coming up with a flow?
I mean, because if the sentence is the text is about the whale, but then it talks about the chicken, it won't be the same. So it just suddenly comes into
Sure.
mind.
Yeah, good thinking. Yes, that's it. So that's one way to, but my problem with your answer, I mean, you're right, but my problem is you cannot theorize the flow, the concept of the flow. You have intuitively theorized it, right? I think that if it is about whale and then they talk about the chicken, so it's not that it doesn't have a flow, it's not consistent, right? I'm just gonna leave it there. But I would like you, okay, so does this text have a flow?
For me, yes, because it's all about whale. They talk about all the parts of the whales.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
All right, so you invented the concept of the flow yourself. What else? What other criteria we could use? Sorry.
The chair has mentioned in the chat coherent and unity.
Right, so none of these terms come from this course. So in a sense, you cannot tell me, because if I were to ask, I can ask you now, what is a cohesion? What is a coherence? What else do we have that? I can't find it now. I had a chat for a moment. See, you know, like to say to me that it is always about whale, it's actually not necessarily a theoretical definition of what cohesion is. Cohesion means it has parts that are connected together in a way that enables you to make sense, right? So it has parts. Well, what parts does it have? What parts does this text have that you can say they are connected together in a logical way? Right, so you can't just throw things. Oh, it is integral. Oh, it is coherent. Oh, it has cohesion. What does that mean? Oh, I understood the text. Right, if it is coherent, I want to know what parts does it have? What parts does it have that are connected? And now you have to go to linguistics or somewhere to tell me parts of the text. Right, so you assume just because you understand the text. Now, none of these responses you created draw on our 2 months of work, 2 or 3 months of work. None. So that's typical when you teach. When someone like me, like even you one day in school, when you will be a teacher, when you teach new material and when you converse with your students, very often your students will go way back with their responses to answer you. They don't remember what you were teaching them last week or 2 weeks ago, right? So that's normal. And when we were talking just 5 minutes ago, you said to me, I learned how to apply. Well, who wrote that? One of you said, I learned how to apply the text structure. You know, okay, well, this is our time to show it. What's the text structure here? first of all, we were saying that text is a conversation in order to affect other people, right? All right. For who is the audience here?
The kids.
Kids are the audience? How do you know?
Because the text is talk about the animals, so I think animals should be for text instead of adult learning.
You mean your grandmother knows that all of that about the bristly hair, and she knows everything about the flippers, and she knows about the blubber, and she knows all of that? She doesn't need to learn about it. How do you talk to a child? Okay, so it's for kids. Did you say it's for kids because I said it is a text from school? Or did you say it's for kids because you can see it has structure, but you say that it is for kids because it has a basic information, right?
Yes.
Let me rephrase my question. If it is for kids, how do you know that the kids wanted to know all that information? How do you know that the kids asked for this text?
I'm not sure how to say it, but I just focus on some point related to the whale that we may use them to teach kids rather than.
We may use them to teach kids. So, but how do you know that the kids want to know that? Is this a text written? Was it called for by children? We don't know. It's more like, what does it look like? It is not a response to someone's questions, right? It doesn't, there's no audience in it. It doesn't say, as you asked me about the whales, here it is what I found out, right? It doesn't have that conversation. What does it look like, more or less? It looks like something you would find in a dictionary, or dictionary of biology. Who are whales? Well, whales are it's like a dictionary. It's not really conversation with anyone. It's just fact, 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 fact. Nobody asked for it. That's what you're saying. It might be something that we will give to students, right? Because it's just fact, 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 but it's not. This text was not provoked by students. It's not really, okay, so it wasn't provoked by children, right? There's no conversation, it's just fact, 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 and there's an assumption that maybe someone will use it. If we were to ask ourselves about the structure of this text, what's the problem? And what's the moral? Right? Every text is to clarify something, right? So if I want to make you well, every text it's clarifying things. So if I say hello to you, I clarify my relationship with you. I'm telling you I'm friendly to you. I know you. I respect you. That's why I said hello. If I don't say hello to you, then we're no longer friends, right? So you go on the street and your friend passes you, but they ignore you. You now know that was a way to clarify to you, you're no longer friends. What's this text? What is the disturbance? What is the problem that this text is responding to? It's very clear. I think it does have a problem, and I think you can see it. It doesn't have, yeah. So Chita, what do you think? What's the problem? What problem is this text address? Every text is around the problem.
So for me first, I have two answers in my mind. So first, it's about the problem is why don't a lot of people know about whales, and that's why they create that text for them. But then the other one, I think it's about how can I say that? How do whales live, like communicate or use their eyesight?
What about this? Let's make it simple. What about if I suggested that the problem that this text is what is a whale?
Yes.
Right. And there is a moral, there is no moral here.
There is no moral for me, I think, because it is about the information to answer the problem.
It's kind of like a dictionary, right?
Yeah.
Like a botany or biology dictionary. Would you give a presentation like this? Would you go in front of people to give your presentation? Imagine you standing in front of 30 people and you say, whales are sea mammals, and you can put a whale picture, right? So you go here, to make it all very interesting, you go to picture, and I'm gonna make it really nice, I'm gonna put a whale there. Oh, that's gonna look really good. So we just go to whale. Oh, he's a good whale, right? So I just insert it. Now I read, oh, it's gonna look really good, right? So I'm gonna make it smaller. Yeah, I'm so cool. So you take this text for your assessment 3, and then you have a presentation in front of parents. Okay, parents come and you stand there and you say, whales are sea mammals, are warm-blooded, they belong to the Cetacea order, and they can be divided into 2 groups, tooth and baleen whales. What are your parents now thinking? What is the audience thinking?
They might think that also, oh, sorry to cut you.
Oh, yeah. What are they thinking? Go on.
So if I were the parents, I would think I can just Google for this information by ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't need to listen to that.
But if you weren't Buddhist, and if you weren't from Southeast Asia, and if you weren't polite, what would you be thinking? Why the holy world is this person talking about it? Right? You sit there and you think, why is she talking about it? Whales are sea mammals, they are warm-blooded, they belong to the Cetacea order. You just didn't connect with the audience, right? They sit there, they scratch their heads, they think, I can find it on Google. Why do I need you to talk to me? And why are you talking about it? Right? So if I'm polite and I'm Buddhist, I sit through it and I go, yeah, that was lovely. But if you were Westerner and you don't have that beautiful polish that Buddhism gives you, you sit there and you think like, holy world, what is she talking about? Why is she talking about whales? You could turn this text into a beautiful presentation, but not. This is not a beautiful presentation. This is just a dictionary. Right? Odom, do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yes, because I want you to agree with me. Right, you can't stand in front of people and say, walls, house walls. Walls can be white and red. Sometimes the walls are red and sometimes the walls are white, depending on what painter you use. In Australia, they do walls white and red. Red are not very often, but white are more often. And people were sitting thinking like, I came here to listen to what? Right? So you want to affect your person, right? Where did I say that here? We talk to affect. You don't want your audience to be bored or angry with you. Bored because they don't know why you are talking about whales, or angry with you because you're taking their time. Make your presentation worthwhile for everybody, right? So one of our implications, therefore, we will just duplicate the slide, would be make your presentation worthwhile for everyone, you and your audience. What does it mean? It means that you can't just say, how, tell them about whales. Making a presentation takes a long time because you need to think how you can make it worthwhile for people. People are not stupid. So if you are opening your mouth in front of people, you need to show respect for them. You need to show that they actually know something. People in front of you do know some things. So how can you contribute to them? And that's a lot of thinking for you not to look arrogant, not to look stupid. You need to think. So it changes you. Creating a presentation is not only about affecting others, but it also changes you, because you need to now think, oh my God, how am I gonna be worthwhile for these people? And now you're reflecting on yourself. So presentation has a transformatory element. It transformatory. It transforms you as you are thinking of others, right? It transforms you as you are thinking of others. So I was giving a presentation. I've given over the last 3 or 4 months, I've given like 10 international presentations, one after another, sometimes daily. And I had to think how I'm going to change others. And it was hard because I can't assume that I know everything. I had to think, what is it that I really can communicate to be helpful? And as I was thinking, it was changing me, right? So that's very interesting. So when we say doing a presentation is simple, it's not simple. Talking to people is difficult, especially when that person is not necessarily your family. If you're stupid, if you whatever in front of your family, they will forgive you, but not your professional colleagues. They will remember. Oh, so that idiot. Now, I'm talking to you a little bit informally today because I want you to get the message. Talking to people is difficult, and you will be remembered. So you better get it right. You better get it right. Now, because you are a teacher, people put a lot of hope in you. It's a big responsibility. It doesn't matter whether you're in a public school or private school. It's always the same. People expect from you a lot. I'll show you another text. Let's have a look at another text, okay? So we're playing today a little bit. We're not doing presentation directly, but we're learning about the purpose of presentation, right? Maybe some of it that I'm discussing with you may seem straightforward to you, but it isn't. And if it is to you, then very good. But a lot of theoretical thinking has been given to the concept of presentation. So we're just looking at text today, and hopefully we learned something. So here's another text. It has some mistakes. It was written by a student. So I want you to think whether it's a good text or a bad text. He's relaying a story. One night, I was lying, it's got spelling mistake. I was lying down in bed and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was not in my bed anymore. I wasn't even in my room anymore. I was in a little wooden box. It was so small, I could move around a little bit, but I couldn't stand up. I looked around for a gap or a door, but I couldn't find one. There were nails sticking out of the bottom, so I had to be careful where I stepped. I rammed the side trying to get it open, but it didn't work. I stopped for a while and noticed something weird. I am claustrophobic a bit. Didn't feel sick. Then I sat down on a nail and it didn't hurt. I woke up, it was just a dream. So is this a good text? So we're asking ourselves things like, we're asking ourselves questions like audience. Who's the audience? What's the problem? What's the moral? Right? All of these questions we're asking ourselves just to quickly. Problem. What do I know about the problem? You know, maybe, maybe not. It's the dialogue bit. All right. So is this a good text? Who is the audience? So you're not, no, nobody is saying. So are you, so you're not sure who is the audience?
Yeah,
Yes, I
I'm
am
not
not sure as
sure.
well.
Right. So if you are not sure, then instantly you should say it's not good text. It's not a good text. Imagine you're giving a presentation, you're standing in front of people and you say, one night I was lying down in bed, I fell asleep. And they look at you and they go, yeah. They go, oh, yeah. Ah. So what's the mistake right at the start?
Because the text is talking about the writer themselves, so the audience cannot relate to.
Right, he didn't connect with the audience. You're making a presentation to people, but you're not connecting with the people. Right, you need to connect. I'll show you how I rewrote it. Where is my text? Look at the first sentence only, okay? As you know, I can't even fly. I am so claustrophobic. One night, I was lying down in bed, all windows open to make sure I could breathe. And I fell asleep. Who's the audience here? Nobody knows? Just look at the first sentence only. Who's the audience here?
The audience are people who is claustrophobic.
No, I said, I'm telling the text and I'm saying, as you know, I can't even fly. I am so claustrophobic, not you guys are claustrophobic. I said, I am. So I'm telling the text about myself. As you know, I can't even fly. I am so claustrophobic. So who's the audience? To whom am I speaking?
Someone who know that you have claustrophobic and you cannot.
Exactly. And it was so simple to do it, right? And I did it by saying, as you know, which means they're my friends. The people who know me. Say, I can't even fly. I'm so claustrophobic. I can't even fly. As you know. So I'm connecting to the audience and I'm telling people who read it. I'm talking to my friends. So they know it. So let us come back to another problem here. What's the problem in this story? In the boy's story, the student's story. What's the problem in his text?
It wasn't dream.
Well, that's the context, but what's the problem?
The writer woke up and he or she was not in his or her bed.
Right, so it was a surprise, right? Surprise. He wants to communicate surprise. But so what? So what? Okay, so he wasn't in his bed. He woke up and he wasn't in his bed. Let's have a look here. What's the problem here? You could say it's the same, right? Because I took the text and I put it right here. When I woke up, I had no idea where I was. I wasn't in my bed anymore. I was in a little wooden box and could not stand up. So what's the problem here? Surprise, right? So here's the surprise. Here's the surprise when I woke up. And you can say that here is the surprise too when I woke up, right? So that's a problem. It's a surprise, right? Yes, it's a surprise. That's the problem. Problem is the surprise. First, he was in bed and then he woke up and he wasn't in bed. So it's a surprise. But do we know it's a bad surprise? Here in this text, when I woke up, I was not in my bed. I wasn't even in my room. I was in a little wooden box. It was so, I was in a little wooden box. That's where the problem stops. Is this a bad surprise?
Not really.
Not really. Exactly. It's kind of like, oh, all right, something has changed, but I don't think it's bad. But how can you make it, how can we make this surprise feel bad so that we can keep the audience in suspense? Oh, really? Is this what happened to you? Shit. Oh, that's horrible. All right. So how could we turn it into really bad surprise? Any ideas? Suchita?
I'm not so sure. I'm sorry.
It's very simple. This is why I'm teaching you literacy skills. It is the ability to read, the ability to choose the right text and know the reason for it, right? So it's a surprise, but you still can't make can't attach emotion to it as a listener, right? You're listening to this text and you go, okay, so you were in a wooden box. Oh, well, can't be pleasant. What was it? You still are waiting for more information. But look at my text. As you know, I can't even fly. I am so claustrophobic. And imagine this, being so bloody claustrophobic, I have to have all windows open to breathe, right? And I fell asleep. I'm claustrophobic. I have to have, you know, like all of that. And imagine that, being so claustrophobic, I woke up in a tight, I was in a tight wooden box and could not even stand up. This is harder. You can feel from me. Oh, bloody hell, she's claustrophobic. She can't fly. She has all the windows open, even when she's asleep. And imagine that. She just woke up in a closed wooden box, right? In a tight wooden box. Now you can see that must be awful for her. Do you see the difference? So if you look at this text, because this person didn't think about their presentation, they just thought that it's all easy. Or I'll just tell them the text. I'll just tell them. The information that we get that this person is claustrophobic is right at the end of the text. He misspelled it, right? Because it's a student, it's a child. So the most important thing in this text is to show he was claustrophobic, right? He put it right at the end. That's where I got it from. I wouldn't have thought about it. I got it from him, but I put it right at the front so that to inform the context, right? I'm so claustrophobic, I can't fly. Imagine how I felt. I woke up and I wasn't just not in my bed. I was in a tight wooden box and I couldn't even stand up. Can't breathe. See the difference?
Yes.
Okay. So when we talk about grasshopper, remember the grasshopper? I don't know whether I have that story anywhere open, but with the grasshopper, the story didn't begin with grasshopper was hopping about and here's the ant walking. It didn't begin like this. It said to us, it was in a field one summer's day. In a field had the same function and summer's day as claustrophobic here. In a field meant sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's cold. Summer meant the time of plenty. So grasshopper is hopping about because the field today is at the time when it's the time of plenty. There's abundance of food, right? So that gave us a context to understand the discussion between the grasshopper and the ant. So when they got to this problem, which is, I don't remember what the problem was, but the problem was that the ant was doing something else, right? So there was this disturbance. Ant is working hard. And we could understand it because we already know from our knowledge that in the field, we don't always have summer's day. Sometimes we have winter's day, right? So it's very important to provide enough information right at the focus so that people can not only relate to the audience, but also give them enough information so they can feel for you. They are emotionally connected with you. So the emotionally connected here, as you know, that means you're talking to us as your friend, right? Yeah, we will now draw on information we know of you or about you, right? We know you're claustrophobic. And you said that, as you know, I can't even fly. I'm so claustrophobic. Imagine what happened to me. I am claustrophobic. I sleep with windows open. And imagine having a dream like that. And you go like, oh, mate, that's terrible. especially for you, right? Especially for you. It's terrible, especially for you. You know, did you call the ambulance? Right? Everybody's thinking, right? So these early texts that we have right at the front, text is, words are money. These early texts, these early words are very expensive. You need to know how to focus your text. You can't just say, one day I went to the hairdresser. To whom are you talking? What emotion you want them to feel? With you, for the hairdresser, right? You need to make these connections so that the audience is with you right from the start, right? So you want, say that you make a presentation to your parents, for example. What would you say? As a parent, you would well know that having a teenager is not a simple, whatever thing. I don't know, right? So as a parent, so they already know that the story will be about their experiences as parents. Or you could start a presentation, you know, in 3,000 different ways, but the audience has to know where you are positioning them, as your friend, or in what role is the audience, what experiences they are to draw on, right? So it's not that simple to give a presentation. These early words are very expensive, and you need to think what's the most important. So I will finish the conversation today in here, but I wanted you to see these things. And I wanted you to see that a person who is not experienced, still good writer, but not experienced, will put the most important information here right at the end, whereas that information should have been here, right there, right? Just to give the audience a bit of feel for the person. Another thing here, yeah, and then he made it. Well, look, we can go through all the stages: focus, disturbance, dialogue here, and analyze it. I just don't want to spend time on it today, because I think, you know, it's good enough for today. We learned a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot to learn about what the text is. And I think we learned a lot about what types of texts are there, and not every text is suitable for every context. Like this could be a good text in a dictionary-like format. You know, you go on, you look up whales, and that's what you get. This is what you will find in Wikipedia, something like this, Wikipedia on whales. You know, we have two types of whales. Whales have fins, whales have a blubber, whales blah, 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 which is what I think Sochita said. You can check it on Google. So there are different texts, but not every text, because it was written, is suitable for presentation. This is actually just a text you look up, just to brush up on your information about whales, but it's not a presentation. This one, it's communicated something to audience, but you didn't really connect with the audience, and nobody really understood your problem, because you said, oh, I was in the wood, you know, it was a strange dream. Okay, so give us more information. But if you gave enough context right at the front and connected with the audience, what would happen? I would know it was a horrible dream, because for you, a claustrophobic friend, to wake up in a coffin, it's an awful thing. It's not for everybody, it's an awful thing, but for a claustrophobic person, it's just terrible. So I'll leave it for today. I'll give teacher Neary time to chat with you, just in case she wants to, and then we will close for today. Do you have some questions? You just raise those questions with teacher Neary, and if needed, come back to me. Okay, so I'm done for today.
Thank you, Dr. Ania, for your times today. And I don't think that they have any question because you have talked a lot and you explained them already. May I ask if they did any clarification? The chair, Dam and Jita, do you have anything to clarify or is it enough?
For me, I don't have, teacher.
I don't have.
Dam, the chair. All right, and let me remind you again, because we have already set the deadline for the assignment, so make sure you see that, right? And also please remind your classmates as well, because today we have there are only three of you, and I think that they should be aware of all those assignments and what to do. All right, so I trust on you, especially the class president Jita, you are here. So you can forward the
Yes.
information. All right, so I don't have anything to say more, and hopefully next week many more students come and we can study more, a little bit more.
So the video of this class is on our website. I will send also PowerPoint to you, Neary, and you can send it to students, okay?
Yeah, you can send to the group so that everyone can see it. No
Okay, I
problem.
will do that. So I'll send the link to the video. I will send the PowerPoint. All right.
Okay.
All right, my friends,
Dr.
thank you
Dan.
so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, teacher
Bye.
and Dr. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. and teacher.
Thank you, darling.